Henry sat at his desk, staring intently at the ancient text in front of him. He had been studying it for months, poring over every line, every symbol, trying to unravel its secrets. He was convinced that it held the key to unlocking some of the greatest mysteries of the universe, and he was determined to be the one to uncover them. As he worked, his girlfriend, Sarah, looked over his shoulder. She was a talented linguist and had been helping him translate the text. "Any luck?" she asked. Henry sighed and ran a hand through his hair. "I feel like I'm getting nowhere. This text is so ancient, so obscure. It's like it was written in a language that was never meant to be understood by humans." "Don't up yet," Sarah said, patting his shoulder. "We've made progress, and I have a feeling that we're getting closer to something big." Henry nodded, but he couldn't shake the feeling of dread that had been growing in the pit of his stomach. There was something about this text, something dark and foreboding. He couldn't explain it, but he felt like they were playing with fire, and that it was only a matter of time before they got burned. As they worked, the door to their office burst open, and an old man with a wild beard and a twinkle in his eyes stormed in. "Henry, Sarah, I have news," he exclaimed. Henry recognized the man as James, an occultist and mentor who had helped them in their research. "What is it?" Henry asked. "I found an ancient artifact, a stone tablet with inscriptions unlike anything I've ever seen," James said, his eyes gleaming with excitement. "I think it may hold the key to unlocking the secrets of the text you're working on. Come, we must go see it at once." Henry and Sarah exchanged a glance, then nodded. They gathered their things and followed James out of the office, their curiosity and ambition outweighing their reservations. Little did they know, they were about to uncover something far more sinister than they could have ever imagined. The underlying dread that Henry had been feeling only continued to grow as they followed James, not knowing what kind of danger awaited them. Henry followed James and Sarah through the dense jungle, his heart pounding in his chest. The ancient temple they were searching for, said to be hidden deep in the jungle, and they had been hiking for hours. Sweat dripped down his forehead as he pushed through the vines and underbrush, his feet sinking into the soft, muddy earth. As they approached the temple, Henry could feel a sense of unease growing within him. It was as if the very air around them was thick with an ancient, malevolent energy. He glanced at James and Sarah and could see that they were feeling it too. Suddenly, a branch snapped and they all froze. Henry heard a rustling sound in the bushes, and then a figure emerged. A man, dressed in flowing black robes. His face was gaunt and pale eyes seemed to glow with an otherworldly light. "Who are you?" Henry asked, his voice shaking. The man smiled, revealing soft. "I am a messenger," he said, his voice dripping with malice. "I have come to offer you a deal." Henry's heart raced. He had no idea who this man was or what he wanted, but he could sense that he was dangerous. "What kind of deal?" Henry asked, trying to keep his voice steady. The man leaned in closer, his eyes boring into Henry's. "I can help you unlock the secrets of the ancient text you seek," he said. "But in return, you must pledge your loyalty to me, must serve me, and do my bidding, no matter what the cost." Henry swallowed hard. He knew that he should reject the offer, but the temptation was too great. He had dedicated his life to uncovering the secrets of the ancient world, and the thought of finally achieving his goal was too much to resist. "I accept," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. The man chuckled, a cold, haunting sound. "Excellent, Ed. Then come with me, and I will show you the way to the temple. But beware, for the path is treacherous, and those who defy me do not fare. Henry followed the man through the jungle, his mind racing. He knew that he had made a terrible mistake, but it was too late to turn back now. He could only hope that he was strong enough to survive the journey ahead. As they walked, Henry couldn't shake the feeling of dread that had settled over him. He had no idea who this mysterious messenger was or what he was capable of, and the thought of pledging his loyalty to him was unsettling. Henry couldn't help but wonder what he had gotten himself into. As they walked deeper into the jungle, Henry couldn't shake the feeling of unease that had settled over him. He knew that he had made a terrible mistake in accepting the deal with the mysterious messenger, but it was too late to turn back now. The man had promised to help him unlock the secrets of the ancient texts he had been seeking for years, and the temptation had been too great for Henry to resist. But as they journeyed deeper into the jungle, Henry began to realize the true cost of his decision. The path was treacherous and dangerous, and the messenger seemed to delight in leading him into danger. More than once, Henry found himself fighting for his life against venomous snakes and vicious predators. Despite the dangers, Henry was determined to see his quest through to the end. He had dedicated his life to uncovering the secrets of the ancient world, and he was not about to let the messenger deter him from his goal. Finally, after days of grueling travel, they arrived at the temple. It was a crumbling, ancient structure, surrounded by dense jungle foliage. The messenger led Henry inside, and as they walked through the dark, musty halls, Henry could feel the weight of centuries pressing down on him. At last, they arrived at a room filled with ancient, dusty scrolls. The messenger gestured for Henry to approach, and Henry could see the greed and excitement in his eyes. "These are the secrets you seek," the messenger said, his voice dripping with malice. "But remember, you must serve me and do my bidding in return. Fail me, and you will suffer the consequences." Henry knew that he had made a terrible mistake, but it was too late to turn back now. He took the scrolls and began to study them, determined to unlock their secrets and fulfill his lifelong quest. But as he delved deeper into the ancient texts, he couldn't shake the feeling that he had made a deal with the devil, and that the price of his success would be far greater than he had ever imagined. Henry had been studying the scrolls for months now, and he was making steady progress, unlocking their secrets. However, despite his dedication to his work, he couldn't shake the feeling that he had made a terrible mistake in accepting the deal with the messenger. He had married Sarah, and the two of them were now living in a small cottage in the jungle near the temple. Sarah was supportive of Henry's work. She could sense that something was weighing on him. She tried to reassure him that everything would be all right, but Henry couldn't shake the feeling that he had made a deal with the devil. Tragically, James had died during one of their expeditions in the jungle. Henry was devastated by the loss of his friend, and he couldn't help but feel that it was his own greed and ambition that had led to James' death. As he worked on the scrolls, Henry began to have strange visions. He saw the messenger, his face contorted in a sinister grin, beckoning him to fulfill his end of the deal. But Henry also saw something even greater, a shadowy figure that seemed to loom over everything, its motives and intentions possible to discern. Despite these distractions, Henry continued to study the scrolls, driven by a sense of urgency that he couldn't explain. He knew that he was getting closer to the truth, and that he was on the brink of discovering something incredible. But at what cost? He couldn't shake the feeling that his quest was leading him down a dark and dangerous path, and he couldn't help but wonder if he would ever be able to find his way back. Henry's life became hallucination, and reality began to blur as he delved deeper into the ancient scrolls. He spent long hours in the temple, studying the ancient texts and trying to unlock their secrets. But as he worked, he found himself increasingly drawn to a world of hallucinations and delusions. He saw the messenger everywhere he went, his gaunt face and glowing eyes haunting Henry's dreams and waking thoughts. But it was the shadowy figure that really scared him, a Lovecraftian monster that seemed to loom over everything, its motives and intentions impossible to discern. Sarah desperately tried to help Henry, but he seemed to be slipping further and further away from her. She did everything she could to snap him out of it, but nothing seemed to work. Henry was consumed by his obsession, the scrolls and the ancient secrets they contained. One night, Sarah woke up, and Henry standing at the foot of their bed, staring at her with a strange, vacant look in his eyes. He was muttering to himself, his words barely coherent. "Henry, what's wrong?" Sarah asked, her voice shaking with fear. Henry turned to her, his eyes glowing with an otherworldly light. "I have to go," he said. "I have to fulfill my end of the deal. The messenger is calling for me." Sarah grabbed Henry's hand and tried to pull him back to bed. "Henry, you're not well," she said. "You need to rest. Please, just come back to bed." But Henry resisted, pulling away from her. "I have to go," he repeated. "I have to fulfill my end of the deal. I can't let him down." Sarah watched in horror as Henry turned and walked out of the room, consumed by his obsession with the ancient scrolls and the mysterious messenger. She knew that she had to do something, but she had no idea where to start. She knew that the only way to save him was to confront the messenger and put an end to his hold over Henry. She made a plan and set out into the jungle, determined to bring Henry back from the brink. As she approached the temple, Sarah could feel the weight of centuries pressing down on her. She knew that she was on the brink of uncovering something ancient and terrible, something that had the power to destroy them all. She made her way through the crumbling halls of the temple, her heart racing with fear and determination. At last, she found the messenger, his gaunt face twisted into a sinister grin. "You have no power over me," Sarah said, her voice shaking with determination. "I won't let you use Henry for your own twisted purposes. I won't let you destroy him." The messenger chuckled, his laughter echoing through the temple. "You have no idea what you're dealing with, but it doesn't matter. You're too late. The deal has been made, and there's no turning back now." Sarah knew that she had to act fast. She grabbed a nearby torch and brandished it at the messenger, determined to burn him out of her life forever. But as she moved closer, the messenger began to transform, his body contorting and changing into something otherworldly and terrifying. Sarah screamed as the monster lunged at her, its tentacles writhing and its eyes glowing with an otherworldly light. At last, she found the messenger, his gaunt face twisted into a sinister grin. "You have no power over me," Sarah said, her voice shaking with determination. "I won't let you use Henry for your own twisted purposes. I won't let you destroy him." The messenger chuckled, his laughter echoing through the temple. Henry watched in horror as the messenger attacked Sarah, his sharp teeth bared as he lunged at her. He knew that he had to act fast, or she could be killed. As he watched the scene unfold, something inside of him snapped. The trance that he had been under since accepting the deal with the messenger was suddenly broken. and he was filled with a sense of clarity and purpose. He lunged at the messenger, his fists flying as he fought to protect Sarah. The messenger was strong, but Henry was fueled by determination and love, and he was able to hold his own. As they fought, the temple around them shook and trembled. It was as if the very foundations of the ancient structure were being tested. And then, with a sudden burst of energy, Henry was able to land a final blow, knocking the messenger to the ground. Sarah wrapped her arms around Henry, tears streaming down her face. "I knew you could do it," he whispered. They stood there for a moment, panting and covered in sweat, their emotions running high. And then, as they looked around the temple, they saw the true face of the messenger's god. It was a creature beyond human comprehension, a being of pure darkness and malice. Its tentacles writhed and twisted, and its eyes seemed to bore into their very souls. Henry and Sarah knew that they had to get out of there, and fast. They turned and ran, their feet pounding the ancient stone floor as they fled from the temple. They didn't stop until they were out of the jungle and safe, their hearts racing with fear and excitement. As they looked back at the temple, they knew that they faced something truly terrifying, and that they had come out on top. They were stronger now, and they knew that they could take on anything the world threw their way. And as they stood there, hand in hand, they knew that they were ready for whatever the future held.